I'm really happy to be here at Potluck Kitchen at GNAT-TV. I'm going to channel my Beijing days to make pot stickers. So vegetarian ones, you can use pretty much any vegetarian ingredients you want. Today I'm using sweet potato. So the way I prepare my sweet potato is I microwave it for like 3 minutes on high. So after I cut off the ends each side and I poke some holes in it with a fork, and I put it 3 minutes in the microwave on one side, and then I turn it 2-3 minutes on the other side. It gets it nice and mushy. You can also use beets or carrots. Some people grate the carrots. Red pepper would go nicely with carrot or sweet potato. An important thing to remember when you're making dumplings is that they're small, and so the filling needs to have either very, very tiny bits of your ingredients, or it needs to be mushed up. Put some sesame oil in. And then I put the garlic in. So I put some grated ginger in. So I cut some mushrooms up very, very fine. And I also used some bok choy, but you can just use common cabbage. I used bok choy because it's nice leafy green. And I also just used some common chives. And then I stir fried it. So when you're stir frying, you want to get your pan a little bit hot. So you add the things that take the longest to cook first. When I cut my bok choy, so I used the folding method to mince it. So you can just fold it up like that, so you can get it really minced up. And then I had sweet potatoes. So I'll show you some of them here that I brought with me. So after you microwave it, it's cooked and it's nice and soft, and you can just mash it up. So you can use a fork. So I used my little avocado masher. This is sweet potato filling that I've already prepared up to a point. So you don't have to use a wok. So you can just use a regular skillet. Just be careful to use one that has preferably a non-stick surface. So you can see it's just all mushed up. You see the bok choy in there, the sweet potatoes, there's some ginger, mushrooms, and garlic. What I'm gonna do at this stage, I wanna put some protein in it. So I'm gonna use some extra firm, shelf-stable tofu. I'll get it really mushed up. So you want to get it nice and mushy. I like to pre-cook my dumpling filling, and generally speaking, I'll let it sit overnight in a glass jar so that the flavors can mix with each other. Even though this is really mushy, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna add some thickener to it. I'm going to add some arrowroot powder, which I prefer over flour or cornstarch for thickening. So I'm just gonna sprinkle it in, and then I'm gonna add a little bit of hot water. But you can add whatever kind of liquid you want. Don't put in too much, so you gotta boil it off after. So you might have noticed that I'm not using measurements, like a teaspoon of this or a tablespoon of that or a cup of sweet potato. Dumplings really aren't like that. So you kind of got to focus on the main ingredients. You need a thickener, you need things that taste good to you and flavors that would go together. So maybe you've eaten dumplings or you've eaten at a restaurant and you look at the menu combinations, or you talk to your friends, you eat somebody else's dumplings, and you get a feel for what goes well together. So one other thing I thought about adding were these walnuts, just to put a little bit more protein and maybe a little bit of a crunchy texture. And this is my innovation. So I have never put chopped nuts into dumplings before, but I thought I might like to try. This is pink Himalayan salt. It's got a lot of trace minerals, and I like salt personally, but for this recipe I really don't want to use table salt, so I'm going to use this salt. Traditionally, when I'm making dumplings that aren't sweet potatoes, I put in some hoisin sauce. I'm not really sold on the idea of putting too much into these dumplings, but I think maybe I'll put in a little. So you can also use like a Chinese 5-spice, and I'll just put in a dash of soy sauce, not a lot. So I was lucky enough, so I was driving up near Stowe, and there's an Asian market up there, and I popped in, and big score. So I found packages, frozen packages of dumpling wrappers. If you find that you like making dumplings, it's great to grab some. And these were frozen, but sometimes you find them around like where the tofu is. These have a coating on them. It's probably something like cornstarch or arrowroot powder. So if you do make your own dumpling wrappers and you decide to freeze them, so you absolutely have to put something on them to keep them from sticking together. In order to seal them up, we're going to need some water to dip our fingers into. So this is the fun part, whereas if you have your friends or your family, you can do this together. So I just put the wrapper right on it, and then you've got to put some water around the edge. So this is very time consuming, but it feels nice. And then you just take a little bit of filling, you put it right in, and you'll get a feel for how much you should put in, and then you just gobble it right up. So you spend so much time making your dumplings, you really want to make sure you take care of them before you cook them. And so the best thing to do is to put them on some parchment paper so they don't stick and rip little micro holes in them. So the micro holes will really, they'll go astray once you start cooking. I'm gonna make my own dumpling sauce. So I like to just use a little mason jar so that I have leftover. And true to form, so realized I did not have a lot of soy sauce at home. And so I brought what every kitchen drawer usually has, is takeout packets of soy sauce. This is a great time for my haiku that I prepared. And we have to count the syllables. So it's supposed to be 5, 7, 5 for a haiku. So we've got stolen dish towels. Use them to clean up your mess. But what does that mean? And the title of that haiku is Socrates in the Kitchen. So we've got soy sauce. I'm going to add a little bit of sesame oil. Remember what we said about sesame oil? And this is organic rice vinegar. I really prefer the brown rice vinegar. This is kind of brown, but here in Vermont, we just take what we get. And I'm gonna put in some red chili pepper flakes. So you should always remember to rub your spices or break them up when you're putting them into food, no matter what it is. I'm gonna put in a little bit of honey. And in Chinese cooking, this is like a form of balancing where you have something sweet, so you have something tangy, you might have something sour, something salty. You hear the pizza oven making noise as though it's hot now. I'm gonna come over and start cooking some dumplings. So I'm gonna put on just some regular canola oil. It's my first dumpling, so I'm gonna use to spread the oil. And when you're doing your dumplings, there's usually a flat side and there's a puffy side. And so you want to put them flat side down. You have to steam them. And this isn't so important when your ingredients are pre-cooked. Right now, you're pretty much just working on crisping up and steaming the dumpling wrappers. And I'm going to be really careful when I'm pouring this hot water in because it will spatter. You want to sort of aim for the edges of the dumpling. And you don't need a whole lot. Just enough to get it steaming. And then I'm going to lower the lid. And that's going to steam a little bit. So when you're coming at them, you kind of want to come at them lengthwise. I'm going to flip them. These aren't quite ready yet, but you can see most of the water's gone. So you can tell by touching the dumplings if they're done. This one is done. So it looks nice. There's very little give to it, and it's just slightly brown. My son made me this bowl, so I believe this might be the character for tree, is what he said. Thank you for watching Potluck Kitchen on GNAT-TV.